What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today, we are going to be looking at the best footballer born in every year from 1980 to 2009. Don't want to go too far back because then this video would be about 5 hours long. And didn't want to go any younger than 2009 because they're just a bit dodgy. Like, there's like no one born 2010 who's actually played a game of football to be classed as good enough. They were just like academy. So, not going to go far back. 2009 is the youngest we'll go. 1980 is the oldest we'll go. Every year, best player in my opinion. I'm going based on sort of their ability over their career as a whole, not just at their peak. Although for when they're still playing, like sort of 95, 97 onwards, I'll go on current ability. But for the first sort of 15 years, their career as a whole, because a lot of them have retired or basically at the end of their career. And then, yeah, for the younger players, just current ability. Starting with 1980, I've gone with Xavi Hernandez. Overall, as his career, Barcelona's captain, won a billion trophies. He was there for so long. It's not really any debate. One of the best midfielders of all time, La Masia graduate. Only person that I really felt close was Ronaldinho, who at his peak I'd say was better than Xavi, but overall, Ronaldinho just didn't do it for long enough to be close to Xavi, in my opinion. 1981, I've gone with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. This guy played till he was like 42 across many different clubs. Basically, did well everywhere, barring maybe Barcelona. And I mean, just kept going into his 40s. Not much more you can add to that. Only honourable mentions: Iker Casillas, Xabi Alonso would have been the closest, but I don't really consider either of them over Zlatan. Moving on to 1982, another former AC Milan player. It is the Ballon d'Or winner, Kaká. Obviously, at AC Milan was class. Real Madrid, not so much, but I still think he edges out some of the other options like Peter Cech and Michael Essien, who I didn't think were quite as good as Kaká. I mean, if you got a Ballon d'Or winner, he probably has to get picked. Moving on to 1983 now, a man who retired on top, Philipp Lahm, won the World Cup as captain, retired fairly early. I believe he was like 31 or 32, but still had an incredible career at Bayern Munich, won everything there is to win. Other people who came close, maybe Dani Alves, Yaya Toure, Robin van Persie, and Franck Ribéry. It's quite a sort of tight group. Either any of those maybe could have made it in ahead of him, but I've still gone with Philipp Lahm overall. Moving on to 1984 now, I've gone with Andres Iniesta, the man who scored a World Cup winning goal, the man who won every trophy there is to win with Barcelona. Pretty obvious pick for this one. Only retired a few years ago now. Couple honourable mentions: Thiago Silva and Ian Robin would have came the closest. Thiago Silva, I mean, if he keeps playing for another 10 years, maybe he will end up here. Moving on to 1985 now, I've gone with Cristiano Ronaldo, of course. Pretty obvious pick. Obviously not as good as he used to be now, but I mean, he's still playing. A couple other players are still playing by his peak. This guy was crazy. Obviously one of the best players of all time. There's no one else really that I could pick ahead of him except for Messi, but they're not born in the same year, so it's not relevant. Although Luka Modric and Wayne Rooney are pretty good choices that probably would have been picked in pretty much any other year, but they happen to be born the same year as Ronaldo. 1986 now, a player that is still playing football, had a masterclass in the first leg against Real Madrid. Still at 40 years old now, Manuel Neuer. Still going at the top, although maybe leaving Bayern Munich to Brighton this season, at the end of the season. Obviously won't be going to the World Cup though, but he's still at the top of the game, playing in the Champions League. Sergio Ramos, David Silva, Vincent Kompany came the closest, although Kompany's not as close as the other two, but Neuer's longevity. I mean, the others have all retired, or Ramos, I think he's still playing in Mexico. But Neuer's longevity as well is just, I mean, this guy was the best goalkeeper in the world for over 10 years. It's a pretty obvious pick. 1987, if this video was just called Best Footballer, he would be in it. Lionel Messi for 1987. The best player of all time for me, still going now into Miami. Got the World Cup coming up, looking to go back with Argentina. This easiest pick of the video, to be honest. I mean, the honourable mentions are probably Luis Suarez, Karim Benzema, and Cesc Fabregas. I mean, Suarez and Benzema are some top players who, I mean, in any other year, they probably would be in. Now, 1988, a man who Messi beat to a few awards. It is Robert Lewandowski, obviously still going with Barca, although I believe he'll be leaving at the end of the season. Disappointing end for him in the Champions League as well with the loss to Atleti. But I still think, especially, I mean, this guy just got better with age. He was sort of, his best years was sort of like, 2019 to 2022, which is like early 30s years, which kind of crazy. A lot of players, especially forwards, peak younger. Sergio Busquets probably came the closest alongside Angel Di Maria and Sergio Aguero, who perhaps if they had more longevity, although Busquets is still playing at a decent level with Inter Miami, could have rivaled Lewandowski. I mean, certainly Aguero up until about 2020 would have probably been ahead of Lewandowski. 1989, a player who is now retired, Gareth Bale. This year I was stuck between Gareth Bale and Thomas Muller, because Thomas Muller obviously still playing now, had great times at Bayern, but Gareth Bale as a whole, I think I just had to go with him. Won 4 or 5 Champions Leagues at Real Madrid, carried Wales to a Euro semi-final, and obviously scored for them in the 2022 World Cup. That was kind of it for him, retired after that. Had some great times at Real Madrid, Tottenham as well, and even though he retired early, had some injury problems, I still think he beats the likes of Thomas Muller, Aubameyang, and Marco Reus. 1990 now, the youngest player who was retired on this list. Toni Kroos retired after Euro 2024, but this guy was crazy. I mean, he was still, 34 when he retired, something like that. It's not that young. I mean, these days it kind of is, but this guy, top career at Real Madrid. And when you're a midfielder, once you sort of slow down a bit, there's not much you can do because basically just running the whole time. Crazy at Real Madrid. Him, Modric, Casemiro were sort of the glue of that Champions League dynasty. Honorable mention, David De Gea is the only one who would really come close, but I'm not considering David De Gea. Guy's been washed for about 5 years. So yeah, Toni Kroos is for 1990. Moving on to 1991, I've gone with Kevin De Bruyne, obviously one of the best midfielders in the Premier League history. Now at Napoli, hasn't had a great season, had a few injury problems, couple close calls. I mean, Virgil van Dijk, Griezmann, Kante, and Hazard would have come the closest, but De Bruyne as a whole, I think, edges out those, although Van Dijk, if he keeps going, maybe, and Kante and Hazard at their peak were perhaps slightly better than De Bruyne, but De Bruyne has done it for a longer time, and also it's hard to argue against him. Moving on to 1992, I've gone with Neymar Jr. The guy, I think this guy is one of the most overhated players. Yes, he probably didn't live up to his full potential, but he also had a crazy career. And people always like to downplay what he did at PSG, but his stats there are still incredible. I know it's the French league, but you still have to be there to score the goals. Still going at Santos, hopefully makes the World Cup with Brazil. I think we'd all like to see that. And I mean, who knows what would have happened if he never left Barca. A few of the honourable mentions, Sadio Mane, Son Heung-min, Thibaut Courtois, and Mohamed Salah. Salah probably coming the closest, but I'm not picking Salah over Neymar. If I did, I think it'd just be a sad day for football. Moving on to 1993, one of the best players in world football right now, despite the fact he is in his 30s, almost 33 this year. Harry Kane having an incredible season at Bayern Munich, scoring like 50 goals or something. Quite far clear of the others on this list. Paul Pogba, Dybala, Lukaku, the only ones that come anywhere near him, but Harry Kane, I think, is far clear of those. Probably would have broke the Premier League record if he stayed at Spurs. Maybe he'll break the Bundesliga record now if he stays at Bayern for another 5 or so years, because, I mean, this guy just is ridiculous. Moving on to 1994 now, one of the best players in the Premier League this season, Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United. Obviously, when he first came into Man U, he was absolutely class, had a few off years. I mean, they were also not very good. Now they seem to be returning back to a bit of form, and he's pivotal to it, their best player by far. I suppose Raheem Sterling and Marquinhos came the closest. Sterling, up until a sort of Chelsea fall-off, would have been ahead, but just didn't do it for long enough. Marquinhos, a solid defender, but not as good as Bruno comparatively for their positions. Moving on to 1995 now. I've gone with Joshua Kimmich at Bayern Munich. This guy is class. Used to play at right back, switched to midfield. Now he's one of the best midfielders in the world. Pivotal for Bayern Munich for many years now, as well as Germany. And he doesn't have much sort of competition. Mike Maignan, David Raya came the closest to him, but they're both goalkeepers who have sort of just got to the top level in recent years and haven't sustained it as much as him. 1996, a tough pick, but I did have to go with the Ballon d'Or winner, Rodri, ahead of Rafinha, who on current ability is probably ahead, but Rodri in his peak was certainly better. If he can return to that in the next few years, he'd probably be ahead, but yeah, Rodri, Rafinha, sort of a 50-50, but I have to go with Rodri, even though Rafinha maybe could have deserved the Ballon d'Or last year, which would have made it equal, but I've gone with Rodri overall. I think when he's fit and firing, he's better than Rafinha. Moving on to 1997, the current Ballon d'Or holder, Ousmane Dembele, showed his class when he bagged a brace against Liverpool. Um, I mean, before last year, he probably wouldn't have picked him, but he has won the Ballon d'Or now. Finally, coming into how good we thought he would be when he was first burst onto the scene at Dortmund. Now he's doing it for PSG, and I think he's better than some of the other options like Frenkie De Jong, Gabriel, and Lautaro Martinez, who all having solid seasons, solid players, but I don't think they're quite as good as Dembele. Moving on, 1998, Kylian Mbappe, probably one of the best players in the world right now as well. No real sort of dramas here. It's a pretty obvious pick. Burst onto the scene at 2018 World Cup when he was just absolutely rapid, scoring goals, outpacing defenders for fun. Now at Real Madrid, scoring goals as well, as many as he likes, although half of them are penalties. Fede Valverde probably came the closest alongside Ashraf Hakimi and Victor Osimhen for 1998. Moving on to 1999, is a goalkeeper, Gianluigi Donnarumma, the best goalkeeper in the world right now, we would have to say. Maybe Courtois, maybe it's him. I'd go with Donnarumma at Man City being class, although he won't be playing at a World Cup till at least 2030, although I did consider Declan Rice and Reece James for this position, but Donnarumma, I think, is just the better pick overall. He's one of the best in his position. The other two definitely are, but I think Donnarumma, just what he's done as well, Champions League winner, Euros winner, been playing already for 10 years and he's 27. It's ridiculous for a goalkeeper. Moving on to 2000, I've gone with Erling Haaland. Pretty easy pick here. One of the best strikers in the world as well. Scores goals for fun, especially in the start of the season. He just bags them in for the first few months, then goes on a bit of a drought. Although maybe he will be back for this Man City title run in when we're all hoping they beat Arsenal to the league title, obviously. Vinny Jr. probably came the closest, although Vitinha and Julian Alvarez are also good shouts who just aren't as good as Haaland. 2001 now, Michael Olise at Bayern Munich, having an incredible season. Him and Harry Kane, Luis Diaz just scoring goals for fun. It obviously, it's the Bundesliga, but it's still professional football, a top league in the world. And I mean, pretty easy pick. I mean, honourable mentions for 2001, Moises Caicedo, Kvaratskhelia, and Saliba probably come the closest, but I wasn't really considering any of them ahead of Olise, especially on current form. Moving on to 2002 now, Pedri, probably the best midfielder in the world. This guy, when he's fit, is one of the best players in the world. Nothing you can do, just controls the game for Barcelona completely. And obviously, when he broke onto the scene, he played about 100 games in his first season, so he had a few years where he wasn't quite there. Seems to be back there now. And I mean, it's a pretty obvious pick ahead of Cole Palmer and Nuno Mendes, who are probably the only two that I'd probably consider for 2002. Moving on to 2003 now, it's the battle of the attacking mids. I've gone with Jamal Musiala, just edging out Jude Bellingham. I think Musiala is better. Bellingham had a one good year, hasn't been as good since, and I think he's just a bit overhyped because he is English and he does play for Real Madrid, whereas Musiala, under the radar slightly more perhaps, but I do think he's a better player overall. Moving on to 2004 now, I've gone with Gavi. A man who also broke onto the scene young, had a few years where he's had injury issues. Seems to be back now. Not quite at the same level yet, but I imagine he'll go to it soon. I did consider João Neves of PSG as another option, or Nico Paz of Como, but I do think Gavi just edges them out right now. Moving on, 2005, I've gone with Desiree Doué. Pretty easy pick here. There's not much competition. Had a great season last year of PSG, having a solid season this year, looking to go back-to-back in the Champions League. Only other players in 2005 that came anywhere close, Kobbie Mainoo and Yildiz from Juventus, but I wasn't really thinking any of them were better than Doué. Moving on to 2006, I've gone with Endrick. Obviously a bit of a hyped wonder kid, now on loan at Lyon, doing all right, can have the Real Madrid spotlight. 2006, not the strongest year. I mean, PSG's Warren Zaire-Emery would have been the other option, or maybe Kruppi Jr. from Bournemouth, bagging in 10 goals this season so far. But I mean, yeah, Endrick, I think he has to be the pick here. 2007, probably one of the easiest picks of the video as well. It is Lamine Yamal. This guy to 1v11, both legs against Atletico pretty much. Got no help at all, just put him chances on a plate for them. No one except him seems to be able to do anything for Barca right now, especially in the biggest of games. They can do it against Espanyol, but when it really matters in the Champions League, they can't. this guy, Barca needs some reinforcements to help this guy out, because I mean, some of the players right now just aren't helping it, and they don't want to risk losing him like they did with Neymar. Estevao and Pau Kubasi would have come the closest, probably would have been picks in pretty much any other year, because those two are also future stars of the game. 2008, I've gone with Lennart Karl of Bayern Munich. Perhaps will be Lamine Yamal's rival in El Clasico soon. Keeps yapping about how he wants to go to Real Madrid, but just stay at Bayern Munich, man. You're going to go Real Madrid. Maybe on to win everything with Bayern Munich. Who knows? I mean, Rio from Liverpool, another player I considered, but I think Karl is getting more consistent game time. I mean, he's going to go to the World Cup with Germany. Rio might, but he's more of a sort of out there pick, whereas Karl has actually already played for Germany. And last but not least, for 2009, Max Dellman, a man who was born on the last day of the year 2009, almost a 2010 pick. But I mean, people are touting this guy as a future, like, crazy player. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Scored a tap-in against Everton. Obviously a strong player, although he does play for Arsenal, so he's not going to win any trophies. But he's the obvious pick for 2009 right now. Yeah, that's the end of the video, though. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.